As per the CDC, heart disease is the leading cause of death in the United States. There's much yet to be understood about cardiovascular disease. Once a patient is referred to a cardiologist, they likely have a condition they may have to live with for the rest of their lives. Prevention is critical.
The most common things that we encounter on a daily basis are symptoms of chest discomfort, shortness of breath with activity, other symptoms like heart palpitations, heart racing, skipping, fluttering. We also see patients who have symptoms of peripheral vascular disease, leg pain when they walk. Those are the things that come up on a daily basis, multiple times every day. I think cardiovascular disease, of course, it's our focus, it's our specialty, and it doesn't get as much press as some of the other illnesses like cancer. But cardiovascular disease remains the #1 killer of people in North America and worldwide, and it's not even close. It is by a wide margin. Cardiovascular disease kills more people than all the cancers combined.
We do have a lot of good treatments for cardiovascular disease. I think what people have to realize is the most important thing is primary prevention. If we can prevent a disease state from even happening, that's where we're going to get the most benefit. So things such as exercise, diet, eating well, avoiding smoking, and just seeing your primary care doctor regularly, following up with your physicians, those types of things are kind of the most important thing I feel like that people don't realize about cardiovascular disease.
Cardiovascular disease is not only a high-risk disease, but one people experience later in life in large part due to lack of prevention early in life. Today, there are many testing modalities available to assess the type and extent of cardiovascular disease.
We kind of categorize everybody into 3 separate categories, either low risk, intermediate risk, or high risk. The high risk patients go directly to our cath lab. Now, our intermediate and our low risk patients, we do a risk assessment, and depending on where they fall, we'll do a stress test. We'll go from a basic treadmill with monitoring their blood pressure, monitoring their symptoms of chest pain, shortness of breath, as well as their EKG. Last but not least, we offer here, it's called a PET scan. It's mainly designed for individuals who, number one, cannot walk or because they're morbidly obese. It takes about 15 minutes. We use a medicine to stress their heart, and then we use a different radioactive isotope to image their heart, and that's called a PET scan.
When a patient talks to their cardiologist and together they decide that they need to have a heart catheterization, or what we call a cardiac cath, they can have that done either in the hospital or here in our office, where they get access either through an artery in their groin or an artery in their wrist, where catheters are run to the heart, pressures are taken over the heart, a picture of the pumping function is taken, and then direct pictures of the coronary arteries. The general purpose of a heart catheterization for most people is to diagnose blockages in the coronary arteries, the arteries that supply blood to the heart muscle. And once that diagnosis is made in the cardiac catheterizations, then we can actually fix the arteries there as well with angioplasty and stenting.
Awareness is critical for prevention. Although it is important to make lifestyle decisions earlier to prevent cardiovascular disease, treatment is available from experienced cardiovascular specialists like Waco Cardiology Associates, who have been providing care for decades.
The practice was established in 1971, and my father, who is a Texas native, after he finished his training and after he finished his Air Force obligation, Dad was recruited by a number of physicians who were classmates of his, and when Dad was recruited to Waco, there really weren't any in Central Texas. So in '71, we moved here, Dad started the practice, and then a couple years later, Wayne Falcone, who was also finishing his Air Force obligation, moved to Waco.
I think that what's important is that we still have Schultz and Falcone here still taking care of patients here in Central Texas. So it's very much so like a family business. For me personally, at the age of 18, I knew that I wanted to be an interventional cardiologist and work at Waco Cardiology. And luckily I've had the opportunity to be able to come here and continue doing the work that my family's done previously. It's a big honor and something I really enjoy, be able to provide care for Central Texas.
We partnered with the local hospital here in town to help take care of our TAVR patients. And TAVR, which is transcatheter aortic valve replacement, is a less invasive way of replacing the heart valve. Previously, most patients had a surgical valve replacement. This way, we're able to replace it by going in through the groin most of the time, replacing the valve, and the patient goes home the next day instead of having to be in the hospital for days and often weeks to recover.
Before the TAVR, I really just didn't have a lot of energy, just shortness of breath, and just couldn't do a lot. And they said, well, it's basically, if I hadn't done something, I was very subjective to a stroke, and anything but a stroke. And TAVR was just, it really was a no-brainer. Within a month, I was fully recovered and could do just about anything I needed to do. And it was just one of those things. That it was, to me, there was no choice. I felt lucky at that time that I was chosen, that I qualified to do it. I felt extremely lucky.
Procedures like TAVR can help CVD patients manage their disease today. Looking towards the future, new treatments are on the horizon to further improve disease outcomes.
Cardiology as a career has been fun over the years because there's been a lot of new devices, a lot of new technology, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. I think as time goes by, we'll see more procedures that are done through tubes in your groin and the arteries instead of open heart surgery. So we have 12 physicians here at Waco Cardiology, and half of us were born and/or raised right here in Central Texas. And it makes me very proud to be able to say that we're bringing high-quality cardiac work by local people right here in Waco.
To learn more, contact Waco Cardiology Associates today.